My friend, if you're an XRP holder, do not miss this video. Oh my goodness. So this is the head of the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements. It's the central banks for all central banks. Listen to what he says. I'm going to show you some crazy stuff about a level playing field. I'm going to show you 100,000,000% proof that this is the XRP ledger, my friend.
Is that we need to provide as much as possible a level playing field. But yes, I think that we need to move fast. We need to work creatively. The premise is level playing field. No, not only in payments, there is a big challenge. There is also a huge challenge in non-bank financial intermediation, broadly speaking.
That takes us into another different world.
That's for class to deal with.
You see how he talks about a level playing field. We need a level playing field. Then he talks about payments. And then he talks about the issues with intermediaries, which is what Ripple is fixing. They're fixing the problem with all the Nostro account and intermediaries needing numerous banks that you have to go through when you're trying to make a payment internationally. These are known as intermediaries. That's what he's talking about here.
We will be all on a level playing field. As far as the currency devaluations, I've been complaining about that for a long time. And I believe that we will all eventually, and probably very much sooner than a lot of people understand or think, we will be all on a level playing field, because that's the only way it's fair. That's the only way that you can fairly compete in trade and other things. And we will be on that field, and we will all be working very hard to do great for our country.
Now this one here, a lot of people thought this was an AI. This is not an AI where Bessent is talking here. This was April 23rd, 2025. He was talking to the Institute of International Finance. Okay, you can just Google IIF Global Outlook. You find it 100 places online, covered by numerous different media channels. Okay, this is not AI.
To the contrary, it is a call for deeper collaboration and mutual respect among trade partners. Far from stepping back, America First seeks to expand U.S. leadership in international institutions like the IMF and the World Bank. By embracing a stronger leadership role, America First seeks to restore fairness to the international economic system.
When he says fairness to the international system, financial system, he's talking about a level playing field here. He's going to say it later on in the text, I believe. Actually, no, he just says fairness to the international financial system. Fairness. He's referring to a level playing field here. He's going to talk about a new Bretton Woods, creating a new Bretton Woods.
That a global economy required global coordination. To encourage that coordination, they created the IMF and the World Bank. These twin institutions were born after a period of intense geopolitical and economic volatility. The purpose of the IMF and the World Bank was to better align national interests with international order, thereby bringing stability to an unstable world. In short, their purpose was to restore and preserve balance. This remains the purpose of Bretton Woods institutions. Yet everywhere we look across the international system today, we see imbalance. The good news, it doesn't have to be this way. My goal this morning is to outline a blueprint to restore equilibrium to the global financial system and the institutions designed to uphold it. I've spent the bulk of my career from the outside looking in on financial policy circles. Now I'm on the inside looking out. I am eager to work with each of you to restore order to the international system. To achieve this, however, let's first reconstruct the IMF and World Bank reconnect the IMF and the World Bank with their founding missions. The IMF and World Bank have enduring value, but mission creep has knocked these institutions off course. We must enact key reforms to ensure the Bretton Woods institutions are serving their stakeholders, not the other way around. Bringing balance.
So what he's explaining here is he doesn't agree with how the IMF are doing things in the World Bank. He's saying they've technically, indirectly, what he's saying is they've gone corrupt. Okay, they're not serving their main purpose, which is unbelievably true. If you research the IMF, oh my goodness, I would really encourage you guys to listen to Confessions of an Economic Hitman, so you would understand what I'm talking about and what he's saying in a subtle way here. So the IMF is gone rogue. Okay, so just again, Confessions of an Economic Hitman if you want to listen and understand. But the only way that you can fix the Triffin's dilemma and create a new Bretton Woods is through an organization like the IMF. It's the only way that you can create a neutral bridge currency that literally removes the need for the US to consistently run trade deficits, therefore causing what is called the Triffin's dilemma. So this is what they're talking about. Unfortunately, you can only do that through the IMF. Now, my friend, you really want to watch till the end of the video, okay? It's gonna get better. It's gonna get crazy. So this is the Financial Stability Board here, okay? So this is the right arm, the regulatory arm of the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, the central banks for all central banks. At the beginning, I showed you how I was talking about a level playing field, and the BIS are the ones who have Project Agora, Project Enbridge, Project Jura, Project Mariana, all these different projects via the BIS Innovation Hub, and where I've clearly done 15 deep dives showing that they are using the XRP ledger. It's also the BIS that has the diagrams talking about a financial internet, a finternet. Instead of saying internet of value, they say finternet now. That's the BIS. He's talking here at the Atlantic Council. Wait till I show you the Atlantic Council, my friend. They are the ones that are monitoring all the CBDCs and the advancement in CBDCs all over the world. But for all the deep dives that I've talked about, where I've proven clearly that all of these different projects are using the XRP ledger, they're all scattered over my YouTube. You can find them different places. About maybe 70% of them are still on my YouTube, or you can go to Apex Crypto Community. They're all here. But these are all the projects here. Project Keybridge, Agora, Dunbar, Mariana, Mandela, Icebreaker, Jura, Nexus, Enbridge. I had to do 3 parts on Enbridge. Enbridge became Brixbridge, okay? Enbridge is the XRP ledger. These are all the XRP ledger, okay? So you can find them all organized there, or you can find many of them on my YouTube. It's just they're all over the place. I'll leave the link in the description if you want to try it out for 14-day free trial. It's only $9.99 after for the core and $49 for the premium. You can join us and so on live calls and everything. But I've done numerous deep dives on this, okay? It's all the XRP ledger, my friend. Now, this person here from the FSB, again, that's the right arm of the BIS. This is the regulatory body of the BIS, okay? He's going to talk about a level playing field. So he just talked about global trade and the issues with global trade and different things, and now he's going to talk about a level playing field. Listen to this carefully. He's going to say there's a tool that could make this all work.
Will migrate to the path of least resistance. Activities shift to jurisdictions or sectors or entities where standards are lower, where the oversight is thinner, or where the enforcement is uneven. And the result is not simply regulatory arbitrage. It's a buildup of vulnerabilities in a specific location in the system. A level playing field is a risk management tool for the system as a whole. If you go it alone, you either believe that your financial system is so different from others that a level playing field doesn't matter, or that the financial system will not shift risk to or away from your borders in a significant way. For example, some developing economies might argue that their non-bank financial system is so underdeveloped that regulations pertaining to non-banks are irrelevant to them. Or an economy with a completely closed capital system might argue that adopting a level playing field is irrelevant to them, given that capital can't flow in and out. But for most FSB members, and these are open economies with deep and globally interconnected financial systems, neither argument applies. Integration into the global financial system is a source of strength, and it makes coordination a necessity. Our members recognize the need for multilateralism in financial regulation. They want international standards implemented proportionally and consistently that preserve some room for jurisdictions to tailor measures to their circumstances, and that reduce the incentive for market participants to shop for the most permissive regime.
All right, this is very important. I showed this a few deep dives ago, or maybe last deep dive. Explain in short, Grok, I'm asking the AI here. Explain in short how XRP creates a level playing field for all nations. Also explain why this is good for global trade or trade for each country. XRP creates a level playing field by acting as a neutral, borderless bridge asset. Any country can settle payments in its own currency via XRP without needing to hold the US dollar, large dollar reserves, or privileged access to the US-dominated banking system. Why is it good for trade? It cuts costs and settlement times for everyone, removes barriers that favor large economies, and lets smaller or emerging nations trade more freely and efficiently. Results: higher trade volumes and more equal opportunity for all nations. Explain in short how the US also benefits because it no longer needs to run trade deficits. The US benefits this way. Right now, the world needs a constant supply of dollars, so the US must run trade deficits to provide them. This is known as the Triffin's dilemma. With XRP as a neutral bridge asset, that demand disappears. The US can then run more balanced trade, support domestic industries, and reduce external imbalances without starving the global system of liquidity. What is Ripple's main product? It's called on-demand liquidity, ODL. This document right here was produced by the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, okay? The central banks for all central banks. The same bank, you see the big guy at the beginning talk about level playing field. The same bank, which is the boss of the FSB, the other guy talking about a level playing field that I just showed you. So this is a diagram coming from them. This is the finternet, right? Financial internet. They say finternet for financial internet because they don't want to say internet of value. The internet of value, everybody knows it's Ripple. Everybody knows the internet of value is the XRP ledger. And here you can see they call it the unified interledger protocol to confuse us. There's only one interledger protocol and it's Ripple that built it. But here you can see the interledger protocol connecting the unified ledgers. Technically, these are your national currencies or your CBDC platforms that are being connected via the interledger protocol. So when they're talking about the level playing field, it's the interledger protocol combined with the XRP ledger that allows that level playing field and that seamless connection and removes the intermediaries. Okay, so it's very important. And in case it's your first time on my channel or you haven't watched my other deep dives where I explain this, the unified ledger, shared ledger, regulated library network, and the finternet, it's all the same thing. It's all the XRP ledger, but central bankers are using many different terminologies to confuse us so that you can't figure it out. It was the first one to crack the code on that. That's the only reason that a lot of people in the XRP community are not sure if the regulated library network is really the XRP ledger and so on and so forth. I've done numerous deep dives on this. I've covered this. I've proven this in 100 different angles, a million different ways. Okay, 100 million% proof. Okay, you can find a lot of my videos on my YouTube, or you can again try out the Apex Crypto community. They're all there in perfect order. I've put them in a perfect order, the best order to watch them in the Apex Crypto community. I'll show you in case you go. It's right here. Okay, it's this file right here. There's 8 deep dives here. And if you're there, you want to see all the proof that Swift is going to use the XRP ledger, watch these deep dives here. You want to see all the proof that the DTCC is going to use XRP for cross-border liquidity. Watch these dives here. These deep dives, and you want to understand the real history of the IMF, the SDR, the Bancor, everything I'm explaining right now, the full history. I was the first one to crack the code on that as well. By the grace of God, you watch all these deep dives here. I cracked the XRP code. Again, you don't even have to pay anything. You can get a 14-day free trial, go in there and just consume everything you want, okay? Now, the guy at the Financial Stability Board, okay, he was speaking at the Atlantic Council. This is the Atlantic Council. They're monitoring. This is a major think tank and global body for commercial banks, central banks, and the financial system. Okay, it's unbelievable. But here they are actually, the Atlantic Council is actually monitoring the progress of all the CBDCs in the world. Okay, so right here, you can look by countries, CBDC status, the use case, the architecture, and cross-border projects. Here, cross-border projects would be pretty much all the projects, many of the projects we saw at the BIS Innovation Hub. You can see here, Enbridge, Promiso, Agora, Dunbar, Icebreaker, you've got Jura, Mariana, Enbridge again. These are all, many of them I've done deep dives where I showed you in the course in my community, and also a lot of them are all scattered on my YouTube as well. I've done numerous deep dives showing that this is all the XRP ledger, right? But just so you know, where the FSB, the Financial Stability Board, where that guy was talking was at the Atlantic Council. Okay, and you really want to look into the Atlantic Council. I don't have time to do a deep dive on that right now, unfortunately, but they're showing here how 3 CBDCs have been launched, 41 are being piloted, 33 are in development, 40 are under research, 14 inactive, 9 canceled, and others, right? So they're showing everything here. So yellow, like these one here, pink, the Bahamas, it launched already. And then the other pink one here, Jamaica has launched already. And then if you want to see the pilots, well, this is a pilot. Canada's piloting. Here, Canada's piloting, these are piloting, Brazil's piloting, they're piloting. Everywhere you see the green buttons, these are all piloting. So they're about to go, right? The pilot is the final step before launch. So you can just imagine. So again, this is the Atlantic Council talking about that, monitoring that. Now, I want you to remember that Ripple has a private CBDC platform that central banks are launching their CBDCs on. And these private CBDC platforms are carbon copy clones of the XRP ledger, but they will use the public XRP ledger when they go cross-border. I did numerous deep dives on that too. You really want to check out those deep dives as well. Now, this is a clip of a video that I did on Quant and the BIS. So Quant's providing the programmability, interoperability, and the custom APIs for the shared ledger, for the unified ledger, for the regulated library network, but it is not the unified ledger. Okay, although it does unifying, and we do see those terminologies in the Quant documentation talking about unifying systems, Quant is not the unified ledger. Okay, and I've done deep dives on that, clearly showing that as well. But right here, I'm going to show you a clip here of one of my videos. It's going to show you just how powerful the BIS is. It makes me nervous to show this clip, honestly. I don't know, kind of risking my life maybe to show you this clip, but it is what it is. So let's play this. You'll get an understanding just how powerful the BIS is.
Billionaires control less than you think. The real power lies with secret societies operating in plain sight. Just look at the Bank of International Settlements in Switzerland. This private bank controls every central bank on Earth, yet nobody knows who really owns it. They meet monthly in a circular tower discussing global finance behind closed doors. Last year alone, they moved $5 trillion between countries without any oversight. When I worked in finance, my boss would disappear for these meetings but never speak about them. Now I understand why membership requires absolute secrecy. Next time you see the BIS symbol on currency or financial documents, remember that a tiny group of unelected bankers silently shape our entire economic system. And this is just one society among dozens pulling strings from the shadows.
Now let's look at this video as well.
What's this guy Klaus Schwab one more time, and what are they really up to? Yeah, so founded the WF, the World Economic Forum. And I think it's important to understand too, like where we're at in the world, right? Where it's this peak centralization, central planning. I like to say central planning always fails because they don't have enough data. You can't organize billions of people, right? But they're trying to. And so central planning, so it's World Economic Forum, World Health Organization, World Trade Organization, BIS.
What's the BIS?
The International Settlements. That's central bank. The central bank of central banks, exactly. The World Economic Forum is one of them. The Club of Rome. They're the policy makers, and then they push it down to the next row in the org chart to the policy enforcers, which are the governments. And so the government a few levels down. So it's really a coup of the bankers, and they use this banker to be at the top, push these ideas through the think tanks, and then down to the policy enforcers, and then we're down to the bottom of the subjects of all that. And so Klaus is kind of running this. So you sit in the top of the world, hobnobbing with all these people flying their private jets over to Davos, telling us that we need to cut back on our energy.
Now we're gonna have to listen to this guy a bit. We're probably gonna have to listen to him about the different sections of his videos here, maybe for 6-7 minutes. But it's the only way you're gonna understand really how powerful this central bank is and what's really going on. So let me play that right here.
During World War II, you'd think that the BIS would not be allowing the German representative of the Reichsbank to be involved in the BIS, but you'd think wrong. So that what the BIS was during World War II was basically a bank where both sides were financed. And that's why people say that all wars are bankers' wars. And this is what this book proves. We're going to look at the Bank for International Settlements today. I even have a live stream for that topic. I'm going to put it up here so you can go through it. And I was happy to see Catherine Austin Fitts mention the Bank for International Settlements in her interview with Tucker Carlson. I think that there's not enough publicity about the nefarious nature of this cartel. Of course, there's always talk about OPEC, that it's an oil cartel, that it's a nefarious institution and run by the Arabs and the Russians. But this one is the granddaddy of all cartels. It's been running since 1930. I spoke just over a month ago about this international banking cartel and the fact that, yes, the head of the snake is the BIS in Basel, Switzerland. So we're going to go through it again, and I'm going to talk about the origins of this bank and how it's evolved. I'm going to prove to you that central bankers who go there every other month for meetings, how they're betraying their own countries. Yes, betraying their own countries. It's a very bad situation, in my opinion, and very few politicians, very few commentators mention this bank. Of course, that's probably because it's something you don't do, right? But there's none of that here on this channel. We're trying to expose this nefarious institution. You would think as well, that's the only thing they would focus on. The globalists are people who run the world. And Catherine Austin Fitts, I think she was very careful to mention names. And yes, there are all the obvious names out there, like the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and so on. But I agree with her. They could be just fronts for much more powerful entities. Like she said, multi-generational entities. And I think she's right. They created this bank by international treaty. I've gone through the original founding statute of the Bank for International Settlements, and that's on their website. The major shareholders were the central banks of these major countries like Italy, France, Germany, Britain, Japan, Netherlands, Belgium, I think. And all these central banks at the time were actually private. So they're not even national entities. They were private entities run by bankers. He allowed the Germans to take basically the gold that the Czechoslovak government had with the Bank of England by the BIS. So that's the kind of entity it is. And what happened at the Bretton Woods conference is that the Norwegian delegation, knowing about all this, Norway was heavily affected by the war. Yes, it was invaded by the Nazis, by Germany, through Sweden. Sweden was supposed to be neutral, right? That's another story. And the Wallenbergs, of course. But yes, and they realized, the Norwegians, that this bank was behind all the shenanigans during World War II, that we wouldn't have had a World War II if it wasn't for this bank. And they said we should close this bank down, rightfully.
Did you hear what he just said? He said we wouldn't have had World War II if it wasn't for this bank. I don't have the time to chase that rabbit hole, because if I do, you guys are going to think I'm all about conspiracy. And a lot of people think that certain things are conspiracy when they're actually not conspiracy. But anyways, like I said, notice how I said we never even would have had World War II if it wasn't for the BIS. Oh boy. I could go in that rabbit hole, like I said. I know what he means, but I'm not going to go there.
As they said, we should close this bank down. Rightfully, but guess who blocked it? It was the British delegation under the leadership of John Maynard Keynes, Lord Keynes, the guy who's given us this Keynesian economics, this fraudulent, nefarious economics where governments just keep borrowing and lumbering it on the public. Some people might argue his theory was that a country had to keep a balanced budget, but I think he knew very well that once you go down this road, it leads to disaster. That's the BIS there. The other point that I want to make, of course, is that I said to you that any central banker, be it Jay Powell or Andrew Bailey, Lagarde, or the Japanese counterpart, and whenever they travel there, Every 2 months, they go for secret meetings 6 times a year. They travel under a diplomatic BIS passport. They're not traveling as Americans or French or English. They're traveling as a BISer. Maybe we could call them yesers, like bullshitters, right? That's how they're traveling there. So that's why I'm saying they're betraying. They're like traitors to the interests of their countries. So because the BIS is like a sovereign entity, Catherine Austin Fitz noted, that treaty made it sovereign. It answers to no sovereign power. The BIS, it can hide anything it wants. So that's why the central banks have their accounts with the BIS. That's where they manipulate the currency market, the gold market, probably even the silver market and other markets. No one knows about it. No one can call them. No one can say to the BIS, you have to come to Congress to testify. They're above the law. They are their own law. Of course, they have to respect criminal law in Switzerland, but that's something different.
Now, the other reason he says that...
Okay, I always get a bit nervous when I show that stuff. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. Listen, there's a president in a certain country now. He's doing everything to stay alive. He's avoided losing his life a few times. The reason for that is because he's going against these people, this institution that this guy's talking about. Okay? Never mind what mainstream media is telling you, okay? The mainstream media has been controlled for over 80 years. If you do want to know the truth, I will tell you my opinion. After 25 years of researching this, that's why someone is having a hard time staying alive right now. It's because he's going against these people that this guy is talking about, this institution that he just talked about, okay? And many, many years ago, there was an American president driving in, I think it was like a Cadillac or a big car, and his life was taken. He was going against the same people. That's why he was taken out. And I don't know if I'm going to release this video. Oh my goodness. We'll see. All right. So the XRP ledger is that new level playing field. It's that new Bretton Woods that they're trying to create. It's that neutral bridge currency. Technically the new SDR to a certain degree, new ESDR, special drawing rights, digital SDR, whatever you want to call it. The IMF tried to create special drawing rights in 1968 to help as a supplementary reserve asset to help the US dollar, to help with the Triffin's dilemma, and to help relieve the burden of running trade deficits. The US would have no longer have to run so much trade deficits to supply the world with liquidity. So they tried to do that with the special drawing rights of the IMF to help 1968, but it failed because they only gave it to the central banks. They never distributed to everybody to get that global adoption and the use cases and the utility to get that liquidity. So that's why it failed. And so now they're technically redoing it with Ripple through the XRP. You want to watch all my deep dives on that, explaining everything, it's this one here. I cracked the XRP code. There's 6 deep dives there. You can't even imagine what you'll find there. It's all organized, and a few of them are on my YouTube channel as well, probably 3 or 4, but there's just all over the map. They're not organized. Oh, it makes me nervous when I talk about that stuff. Jeez. All right, so that's it for this one, my friend. Hopefully I'll release this one without editing, but thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I even forgot to give the disclaimer. Oh my goodness. This is not financial advice, not a financial advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. And again, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. It really, really helps the channel. And leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And God bless you all so much. Wishing you a great day, great evening, great night, wherever you are. God bless.